Montgomery County Councilmember Will Jawando is also a delegate to the upcoming DNC from Maryland. Councilmember Jawando, thanks so much for coming on with us. I'd like to first get your reaction to President Biden dropping out of the presidential race.
Well, look, President Biden has served his country for over 50 years admirably. He's one of the youngest senators elected. Obviously, he was on the Wilmington City Council before that. Cares deeply about this country, and has been one of the most successful presidents ever. And I worked for President Obama when he was vice president, which was another successful administration. So I'm just extremely thankful that in one of his last acts of public service, that he recognized what's at stake here. He knew, and he stepped aside, given the state of the race, and supported his vice president for president. It's a deep humility, and I think we're going to look back in this moment and just be so grateful not only for his presidency, which he was a partner with Kamala Harris, with the vice president, but also for this selfless act in defense of our democracy, realizing the state of play. And it was not an easy decision because he still is doing a great job, but he realized where things are and he made a difficult choice, knowing that he has a great teammate and partner in Kamala Harris, who is ready to be president right now.
Until today, your plans were to go to the Democratic National Convention and cast your vote for Joe Biden. Now that Joe Biden is out of the race, what is required of you? Are you required to now cast a vote for Vice President Harris, or are you and any other delegates and members of the Maryland delegation free to vote your conscience and do whatever you want?
Well, we've always been free to vote our conscience. You know, the Democrats since the 80s, you don't, even though you signed the loyalty pledge and I was elected as a Biden pledge delegate, I intended to go to the convention and vote for President Biden and Vice President Harris to be for another term. We always had the opportunity to vote our conscience. But that being said, I still think President Biden would have had the overwhelming amount of delegates at the convention. And I'm going to follow his lead and also follow my conscience and support Vice President Harris for the Democratic nomination. They are a team. I've said this repeatedly over the last several weeks and months. What they accomplished to reduce student loan debt, to get rid of debt, to pass common sense gun regulations, to pass the largest investment in our environment and infrastructure in generations. They did that together. And so that's why I know she's ready to lead. And similar to the president, I'm going to endorse her, and I plan to vote for her. And I know many of our delegates here in Maryland plan to vote for her. And I think she'll have a resounding victory as far as the nomination, but even a bigger resounding victory when she beats Donald Trump in the Project 2025 agenda.
So you expect her, you think that she has this locked up. You expect unanimity not only among the Maryland delegation, but delegates coming in from across the country.
Well, there's always some people that will have to take their time getting there. But I suspect by the time we're all there in August, third week of August, in a few weeks, that she will have the resounding, if not unanimous, support of all of the delegates across the country. I think that's the only way we make sure we win. I think the Republicans and Donald Trump are not excited about this. I think he is now the oldest Republican to ever run for president. And more than that, has an agenda that is going to rip America apart and give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires and round up people and deport immigrants. It's crazy stuff that's in their agenda. And now he has to defend that against a prosecutor, against a former senator, against the vice president. And I think this is the way we win. It's having some sort of drawn-out process to pick a new person. We don't have enough time for that. The president said he's dropping out and he supports the vice president. That's what we should do, and that's what I think we will do.
Realizing that you have just had a few hours to digest this, council member, do you think perhaps there is more enthusiasm available for a Harris-led ticket than there would be for the president, being that she would be the first female president, the first female minority president, and somebody who could perhaps help female and minority candidates down ballot as well?
Well, I think there's a lot of emotions today. One, deep gratitude to President Joe Biden, excitement for Vice President Harris, who, as you mentioned, will be when she's nominated in a few weeks, which I believe will happen, will be the first African-American, first woman of color to lead a major presidential ticket for any party. And I think that's exciting. I have 3 daughters, as you know, and a son. That matters. It matters for young people. It matters for little girls and boys across the country. It matters for people of color. So I do think there's an excitement and energy. It changes the story from what we've been talking about for the last few weeks about is President Biden fit to lead. He is and continues to be, but that was the story. Now it's about Vice President Harris, her vision for the country versus the disastrous vision Donald Trump has. And I'm excited for that discussion. And I think it will inject a new set of energy and excitement, but also unity into the Democratic Party over these last 3.5 months that will be unparalleled.
Final question for you, Councilmember, and that is this. I'm wondering if there is concern about the Republican drumbeat, which we've heard for just the past 2 to 3 hours, and I expect this to continue. They're saying that if Joe Biden isn't well enough to campaign, he's not well enough to govern now, and that he should resign immediately. How do you respond to those criticisms that we will likely hear for the rest of today and for the coming weeks?
Well, they're just unfounded. If you notice, I just, in my previous statement, the president continues to be president. He's doing well. He held an extemporaneous press conference a few weeks ago, talking about a range of foreign policy issues. He had a great appearance at NATO. He will serve out his term as president in a dignified way and is qualified to do so. So that's just, I think, grasping at straws. I think it shows that they really are caught off guard here, the Republicans. They're not sure what they're going to do, and they're worried about Vice President Harris and whoever she ends up picking as her vice presidential nominee. They're worried about that team. They're worried about the record job growth, inflation down, recovering from COVID, student loan debt erased, all the things, investments in our environment, all the good things that Vice President Harris is going to be able to talk about, in contrast to this devastating and divisive agenda of Project 2025 that President Trump is trying to usher in. So I think that they're just grasping at straws, and the president is able to finish, and he will finish his job, and he'll pass that torch to hopefully President Harris in next January.
All right. Former Obama administration official and current Montgomery County Council member Will Jawando, who will also be voting for Vice President Harris at the Democratic National Convention. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on with us.
Thank you.